to truly renew the relationship between Canada and Indigenous peoples, not just for today, but for the next 150 years and beyond, we need a comprehensive and far-reaching approach.
How can Canada improve and heal its fractured relationship with Indigenous communities? The Liberal government of Justin Trudeau has promised to change the narrative and make reconciliation a reality across the country. But is that realistic? What would it take? And how much political will is there across Canada to rebuild the nation's broken ties to its original inhabitants? Our experiment plays Political Cupid by taking two opposing politicians out of their comfort zone and forces them to listen to one another.
We still have Indigenous communities that live in third world conditions.
Who will seduce the other with logic or passion?
There's a lot of work to do in this country.
I had enough of this talk after 2 years. We need to see action now.
And what surprises are in store? This is Political Blind Date.
I'm Don Rusnak. I'm the Member of Parliament for Thunder Bay, Rainy River. I come from Thunder Bay and from a neighborhood known as Westport in Thunder Bay. I remember being a teenager and walking from my friend's house to my parents' house and being stopped by the Thunder Bay police. And there was two officers there, and one slammed me on the hood of the car. And I remember I had a cast on, and the other officer noticed that and said, whoa, 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 lay off. There's troubling things that have occurred across this country. I've experienced some of them, and I think that experience has helped me along the way. I always had an interest in law. Opportunity arose with a car accident in '99, and I was injured and kind of laid up for a year. So there was an opportunity to go to law school. I looked into what it took, and over that year I applied to law school and ended up going to the University of Manitoba, Faculty of Law. I complained a lot about the previous government, and my friends, they were looking for nomination candidates and asked if I would throw my hat into the ring, and made the decision and started down that path. What my contribution to this country is going to be is bring Indigenous culture in its proper place in Canadian society, and I think that's something that all Canadians should be proud of and all Canadians should embrace because it makes us special in this country and different from any other country on this planet.
My name is Romeo. I'm a Member of Parliament for Abitibi Bay James Nunaviki, which is one of the biggest ridings in the country. I hail from the Boreal Forest. I was born under a tent, as a matter of fact. My birth certificate says I'm from Waswanipi, but actually I'm from the bush. But my home community is Waswanipi. It's a cultural, linguistic, and political incarceration. Cultural because we were taken away from our territory, from our culture, our way of life. Linguistic because we weren't allowed to speak our language. And a political incarceration in the sense that the only reason why they took us away is because we were Indigenous. So when I came out after 10 years, I promised myself, obviously I'll go home and go back to the bush and live off the land, which I did for about 2 years, hunting, fishing, trapping. The other objective that I had after coming out of residential school was to try to reconcile with the people that put me away for 10 years. Everything that I did from there on was to bridge proper relations between my people and the governments in this country. So I've been working on that for the last more than 3 decades now. whether it's the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, or as a member of Parliament, or as a negotiator on behalf of my people for certain agreements that we've signed over the years, both with Quebec and Canada. That was my mission. It's about justice, it's about human rights, it's about reconciliation. Let's just stop talking about reconciliation and do something about it. If you believe in reconciliation, what are you doing about it? I know what I'm doing about it.
In recognition of their position as first inhabitants, the Supreme Court of Canada has guaranteed the rights of Indigenous peoples. Broadly speaking, these rights can be summed up as the right to independence through self-determination regarding governance, land, resources, and culture. The problem is that these rights are not consistently respected by governments and industry across Canada. Instead, many Indigenous peoples live under the 1876 Indian Act, which doesn't prevent the exploitation of their land and resources. But there are examples of agreements between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people in Canada that do work for everyone. The 1975 James Bay Northern Quebec Agreement between the Cree, Inuit, and Naskapi people with Quebec and Canada guaranteed Indigenous control over land use and ownership in northern Quebec, clearly outlining resource development and revenue sharing. Significantly, the agreement also established cultural, social, and governmental institutions that allowed these Indigenous peoples control over areas such as education. But is the rest of Canada willing to negotiate this kind of deal? And are other Indigenous peoples ready to make this work as effectively as their counterparts did in Quebec? Don and Romeo are spending the day together, rare for rival politicians. Will they butt heads, or might they find common ground?
I'm going to meet Romeo Saganash. I don't know a lot about his personal life other than what I've read, and I don't know a lot about his riding or his communities. So hoping to learn a little bit more and build that relationship.
He likes repeating that he's the only Indigenous MP from Ontario, which is good. We need more and more of these Indigenous candidates and elected MPs in Ottawa. But they need to do what they're saying. There's nothing that prevents the government right now to take those important steps today.
Being practical on how we do that, I think that's something we have in common. There's a lot of work to do in this country, and the structural changes we're making are going to have long-term effect in communities and be positive for the next generation, for all Canadians.
I had enough of this talk after 2 years of this government, more than 2 years now, that we need to see action now.
Hope Romeo's ordered breakfast already.
Mr. Saganash, how are you doing? Good to see you.
Welcome.
Long time no see.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the most beautiful riding in the country. After years, of course.
It is a beautiful place. Looking forward to seeing a little bit more of it.
Yeah. My concern is, although the Prime Minister has said the right things with respect to his intentions with Indigenous peoples, I feel that time is running out on you guys, because it's been a lot of talk and we have to move quickly and swiftly. It's not as if these problems have just popped out of nowhere. We've known of their existence for so long that all of these issues have become priorities for Indigenous communities across the country, from coast to coast to coast, and you know that.
I feel Romeo's sense of urgency, but I think we do disagree on how fast things can actually occur. We want to get this right, and we want to make sure that that it's lasting.
We still have Indigenous communities that live in third world conditions. That's unacceptable for a place called Canada in 2018. That's where my impatience comes from, and I'm afraid we're running out of time.
Well, it's definitely going to be a long journey, but I think the work's begun, and I think we're moving in a positive direction.
I sometimes look at you in the House of Commons and I envy you because you're in government. But I also understand that it's hard to change the machine behind a government. That's the most difficult part. And you don't have to take my word for it. I mean, the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal, paragraph 74 in the third compliance order says that the ministers say one thing, but the department do exactly the opposite.
I think we learn every day, and we can learn about great ideas and bring those back to the decision makers and get solutions that actually work for people on the ground.
Should be interesting. No, I'm glad I accepted this blind date. It's the first time in my life that I have a blind date. It has to be a liberal man.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Let's hit the road.
The road.
Romeo's constituency occupies more than 50% of Quebec's landmass. The riding is larger than France. Across Romeo's riding, the various Indigenous communities live very different realities.
We live in two different contexts from a constitutional perspective. The Cree have a treaty, James Bay Northern Quebec Agreement, whereas the Algonquin to the south of my riding do not have a treaty. We have Kitasakic, one of the poorest communities in my riding. No running water, no electricity. Their lake had been dammed.
When did they do the renovations on the dam?
2 years ago, we built a different phase
The power, so this is the powerhouse, I would imagine, right?
just for controlling les eaux.
They don't generate power
No.
here?
I don't think so.
No?
Because
Because you got to have a flow. It still is shocking. A community that is next to a water control structure, a dam, that as I understand it, doesn't produce power but possibly could, and they're running off a diesel generator. Yeah, it's a waste to have something like this, a piece of infrastructure like this right beside a community and not use it.
The power that could be generated from the force of water flowing here is enough for this community. People don't realize that there are still communities like that in this country. I think politicians need to realize and see that. Houses are all in the bush over there.
And no electricity to the houses.
No electricity, no water, no running water. This community needs a lot of help.
They're
Fuel.
running a gas generator here?
Yeah.
And there's a hydro dam,
Yeah.
not less than a kilometer away. Or some of the reasons communities like that exist in this country is because of their isolation, and that community was not isolated. The community is not surprising because it does remind me of many of the communities I've traveled in Northern Ontario. We drove in here today, and it's like a flying community. It's surprising
Exactly.
for 2018 Canada.
Evelyn Papetit is one of the nearly 500 Algonquin residents of Kitasakic who have to travel every day to get their water.
Bonjour, Evelyne.
Bonjour.
Ça va bien?
Ouais, ça va bien.
Je te présente Don.
Don?
Don, il est...
Autochtone, on dirait?
Oui, c'est ça, l'Autochtone élu en Ontario, comme député. Fait que je voulais lui montrer au moins une maison. Fait que je sais pas si tu pourrais nous faire visiter un peu.
Oui?
Ouais?
Non, j'ai pas été encore.
Parce que lui, il est au gouvernement. Hein. Il est maintenant secrétaire parlementaire de la ministre des Services autochtones. Donc, c'est une deuxième. C'est comme le vice-ministre des Services. Donc, c'est important qu'ils entendent ton message.
C'est sûr que j'aimerais ça, que notre condition de vie soit plus améliorée. Là. Parce que quand je regarde notre village, c'est sûr qu'ici, on a un barrage, mais je sais pas trop qu'est-ce qui se passe avec Hydro-Québec. Là. Ils veulent pas nous plugger. Parce que durant l'été, c'est difficile de garder notre nourriture au frais. Là. La plupart des gens ont besoin d'un frigidaire, des affaires comme ça. Durant l'hiver, c'est pas si pire, on met ça dehors.
Yeah, it's surprising.
As-tu espoir pour l'avenir?
Oui, j'ai de l'espoir toujours. Tant qu'il y a des arbres autour de nous autres. Hein.
Je te remercie beaucoup de nous avoir laissé rentrer dans ton intimité. Puis on va continuer à essayer de travailler ensemble. Je pense que cette relation que j'ai établie avec lui va nous permettre de mieux travailler pour l'avenir, pour la communauté. Miigwech. Toujours un plaisir de te voir.
Oui, moi aussi. Merci d'être venu.
Un plaisir.
Bonjour.
I like that. As long as there's trees around me, I'm okay. So there's something wrong with this picture. The Algonquins have the same right to benefit from their own territories and resources. They've been asking to negotiate a treaty, similar agreement as the Cree, and yet it's still not happening. And yet the development and resource extraction is still happening on a territory. Somebody else is benefiting because it's certainly not them. So we got to fix that.
There's no simple solution. As a federal government, need to engage within the provinces, work with the communities to get to a point where the communities are in charge of their destiny.
After seeing the challenges of Kitasakic, Romeo wants to show Dawn that there is a different and better way for Indigenous peoples in Canada.
I think it was important for me to show the contrast, and the other example being Ojibwe, where we provided the opportunity to the Cree of Ojibwe to determine their own future and build their own community. Can you pronounce that?
Anishta.
It's Anishtiogumuk. It's not bad now. How are you, my brother?
Good. What's that?
This is Don.
Chief, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Don.
How old is this facility?
2011.
2011 years old.
No, it was constructed in 2011. State-of-the-art museum. When we did the planning, using the elders' vision of how they wanted to see the community, came with a design that the people from the community all, agreed.
Can you show us around? Well, show him around. I've been here. I've been here 50,000 times.
The museum displays original art and houses an extensive Cree language library, historic artifacts, and an interactive multimedia archive. The flourishing Cree culture in northern Quebec has been rebuilt on the strength of the James Bay Northern Quebec Agreement, which Romeo sees as a model for Indigenous peoples across Canada.
Oh, just a small little document?
Well, this is it, man. That was negotiated in 1 year. You can do it fast. You can do it next year. You can have your framework agreement next year. I'm being rough on my date. Well, one of the things I noticed with the Cree, once they've attained a certain autonomy in their own traditional territory through treaty and James Bay Agreement and recognition of self-government and so on and so forth, our best resources can put their time to other things than politics. I spent my life in politics more than 35 years now, because we had to do that. That was our priority, to get recognition. Now, and it's providing the space for our younger generation to do other stuff, write books and do art and so on and so forth.
To do whatever they choose to do.
That's the impact of. So we don't have to fight. When you don't have to fight, you do something else better. Just an observation.
Communities I saw in Romeo's writing are night and day, looking at the Algonquin community and the Cree community. And as Romeo tells it, the difference is the James Bay Agreement and having certainty with resources, revenue, and decision-making.
Now it's Don's turn. He wants to show Romeo how the Indigenous peoples in his writing live.
Hey, stranger.
And how they find solutions to their challenges.
You look like that politician. Are you a politician?
recovering lawyer.
How you doing, man?
Not bad. How are you doing? Good to see you. Welcome to Northern Ontario.
Thank you very much. So where are we going?
We're gonna go to Kitasakic.
Seven Generations Education Institute was established in 1985 and is owned and controlled by the 10 First Nations in the Rainy River District of Treaty 3. With federal government support secured by Dawn, the Institute provides education and training opportunities at the elementary, secondary, and post-secondary levels that reflect community needs and Anishinaabe language and culture.
Why can't we look at ways of cooperating together so the whole region benefits instead of, as the Indian Act has done over 150 years, keep one community underfoot and take everything away and make them so dependent?
Yeah, that's going to be a beautiful building. I can see it already.
It's the circle, called the circle exposed from the earth, the one side of it.
How's it going, guys?
Not bad. I was just talking about the circle and the design.
Yes, we gotta wear the appropriate gear. Probably have to put these on. And anybody want the foreman's hat? So we're gonna go in right over here. So yeah, you can see the circle room there, and that's where we can do our ceremonies and do lots of storytelling in the wintertime and things like that. So right out here, the vision that we have here, and it's part of the plan, is the landscaping is going to be traditional grounds. Like we'll have a sweat lodge and some areas where we can make them places where we can do ceremony or whatever it may be. I like it that it's going to be out here because then the people driving by can see that what we're doing and want to be part of things as well. And it's very much about language and culture and traditions of our area. Like it's the answer to a lot of things. I don't know if Sam's gonna put you guys to work. I heard he was gonna. Hey Keith, what do you want these guys to do? We've been kind of just riding the coattails of everyone here. Let's put them to work.
I'm more of a supervisor. Romeo likes to work. He's got a stronger back.
He's got a.
Actually, I need a hole.
Where?
So there's that joke there about how many lawyers does it take to dig a hole?
You got two lawyers here to dig your hole right now. The great work that Seven Generations Education Institute is doing, it's a little bit different than Northern Quebec and the James Bay Agreement, but they're doing extremely well within the confines of the Indian Act.
I can't wait to see the students' faces when that place is done.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, our students and our communities. So,
a great part of helping this area,
for sure.
They've really focused on training their young and educating them for the jobs that are there now, and we see a lot of great things happening.
And that's what the right of self-determination is all about, to be able to freely determine your own priorities. Some it's going to be education, others it's going to be economic development, depending on your geographic situation as well.
At the nearby church that formed part of the local residential school, Dawn wants Romeo to meet one of the survivors.
Well, I was one of the lucky ones. I went in when I was 8.
Okay.
A lot of them went in at 6 and 7, okay?
And knowing that Romeo was a residential school survivor, it crossed my mind if we should go there, but I think it's important to let Canadians know the story.
When they asked me what was the worst thing they'd done to you, well, in the school, by taking me away from my mother. What does it do to your trust when the two people that you love and trust the most, your parents, abandon you to a place like these schools? I didn't know that was government policy, okay, that they had to do that under pain of penalty. If they didn't do that, they could wind up in jail.
When you invite people to talk about that experience, you're also re-inviting them to relive the trauma.
The first 8 years of my life, I lived at home with my mother, my father, a younger brother, an older sister, and 2 younger sisters. That was my life, my world, but how quickly things changed.
I can't imagine what it would be like to be stripped from your parents. I couldn't imagine them taking away my kids to keep them away from me and bring them up in a way that they thought.
Not long after I turned 8 years old, our parents walked my older sister and I that half a mile across the big open field and left us at this big white and black building, the Indian Residential School. And that big picture on top is how it looked in 1948.
It's something that you don't forget. It's something that you try to carry throughout your life. They've taken away my childhood. I won't be able to get that back. Never.
Now, what surprises a lot of people, Romeo, Don, I can stand in front of this picture and I can tell those priests and nuns, I'm not your judge. I forgive all of you. I said, if you want to apologize or if you want to give me money, be my guest. I said, what I would like is an explanation. Explain to the people of Canada why those schools existed.
Each story is unique, and we saw that Glenn's story was perhaps a little bit different than Romeo's and different than other stories that most Canadians have heard, but it's important to acknowledge the wrongs that happen at the schools, to contrast the hope for the future with the new Education Institute, I think was a good contrast.
From Indian residential school survivor to another, I think we deserve a hug.
Okay, thanks.
Take good care and thank you.
Take care.
My wish is that we no longer have to fight for the respect of our rights, not recognition. The government tends to use the word recognition. That has come already. Let's talk about respect for Indigenous peoples and respect for their fundamental rights as the first peoples in this country.
This experience gave me a greater understanding of who he is and where he came from and what drives him and what he wants to do. And I think our goals are extremely similar. I think the way we do things is a little bit different. Of course, we're two different people, but we've become good friends after this, and I look forward to working with him on common goals as we move forward.
Beyond him being a Liberal and I being an NDPer, beyond his role as parliamentary secretary and me in the opposition, I think I discovered a very decent human being that I think I can call a friend today.
Victims are dead, 12 others are wounded.
Deadly shooting in Fredericton this morning.
Every day, when you turn on the news, somebody's shot, somebody's dead, there's some shooting.
Toronto has a gun problem.
One of the most emotional issues facing Canadians is the rise in gun violence. To combat this, the Liberal government created a bill called C-71.
We are prioritizing community safety while respecting responsible firearm owners.
Conservatives say they are focused on the wrong things.
Why is the Prime Minister failing to take action to make Canadians safe?
Whose vision will triumph in Canada's relationship with guns? Our experiment plays political Cupid by taking two opposing politicians out of their comfort zone and forces them to listen to one another.
The issue is not with Canadian law-abiding gun owners, it's with gangs and guns.
We're sending them on a series of platonic dates to solve the thorniest issues facing Canadians.
Yes, a ban on guns need to happen. Guns don't kill people. People kill people.
Who will seduce the other with logic or passion? And what surprises are in store? This is Political Blind Date.
I grew up in South Central Alberta near a community called Hanna, learning the things about responsibility on the farm and caring for people, caring for the environment, caring for animals, caring for your neighbors and each other were very, very important. I had thoughts of doing something different in life. Near the end of my post-secondary education, Medicine Police Service was recruiting. And so I applied and was successful. In 1980, I started my policing career. I was political because in policing career, I always wanted to be nonpartisan. But when I retired, I had an interest in it. It would be really interesting to be a senator or a member of parliament, but didn't know how to pursue that. Didn't know much about politics. Some would argue that I probably still don't. Sue says to me, she says, I really feel confirmed that this is something that you should pursue and we pursue together. And I said, I feel the same way today. I got that sense. And so it's been a life-changing journey. Talking about this issue of gun violence, and it can be very polarizing. The legislation currently is being proposed. It misses the mark terribly. C-71 misses the mark on a number of fronts.
I was born in Toronto, and from my earliest childhood experiences, I think about how amazing this town is, to see how much it's grown over the course of my life, and through all of its different chapters, to be now raising my own family here with my kids. Seeing my dad practice law and recognizing that you can fight for people, you can fight for good causes by understanding issues, by understanding facts and evidence. Starting out, I worked on simple drug prosecution cases, tragic cases, where the issue is not about individuals being driven by greed or even to cause violence to others. They're just trying to get the next hit. Learning in those cases that there are other root causes which are at play, like substance abuse and mental health and addiction, really influenced my understanding of the many things that go into contributing to public safety. I knocked on a lot of doors, talking to people, listening to them, understanding the issues, where they're coming from. I think it's one of the most dynamic, most authentic ways that you can get to know your community. We can all relate to gun violence. That's one of the main reasons why our government has come forward with Bill C-71, which is a piece of legislation revisiting some of the laws that are there to keep Canadians safe.
Everyone believes that gun violence in Canada is at unacceptable levels. In response, the Liberal government introduced legislation, Bill C-71, and set aside hundreds of millions of dollars to combat criminal gun and gang activities and stop illegal guns at the U.S. border. C-71 would also require gun retailers to keep records for at least 20 years. Background checks for those applying for a license or PAL would go back as far as their entire lifetime. ATTs, the permits required to transport legal guns, would also be more restrictive. Critics believe these requirements are too onerous on law-abiding gun owners and retailers and don't go after the real criminals. Can Canada strike a balance between respect for law-abiding gun owners and those needing protection from inner-city gun violence? Glenn and Marco are spending the day together, rare for rival politicians. Will they butt heads, or might they find common ground?
He is such a nice guy. I'm surprised he's a Liberal. Just joking.
Politics can be partisan, and obviously that partisanship can be intense at times.
This is a very polarizing issue. It has the potential to do that, but we need to appreciate that this is about public safety.
Hopefully he'll keep an open mind about where our party's coming from.
Targeting law-abiding gun owners will not have any, and I mean zero, impact on those who choose to use guns for a violent purpose.
Hey, there he is.
How you doing, man?
How you doing, bud?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you.
Hey,
yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, great.
I get the sense there's going to be a few surprises, too, along the way, and so, Glenn, no pressure. So this is my first time to Medicine Hat. And
you've been to Alberta before?
I've been to Alberta before. I've been
Good.
to Calgary, I've been to Edmonton. But I did a little bit of homework.
Yeah.
Just trying to discover whether or not there are any relationships between Medicine Hat and Toronto. So I'm a big sports guy.
Yes, yeah.
And there are some.
Yes, we had Lanny McDonald.
Lanny McDonald.
And Lanny McDonald.
I saw that too.
Lanny McDonald came from Hannah.
That's great.
Like
Your
his-
hometown. So I got a question for you.
Yes.
Was Lanny McDonald born with that mustache when he?
Did he grow it during high school like I did? I don't
You used to have.
I grew a mustache probably the majority of my life, and it wasn't until our son-in-law got sick with cancer, and he eventually passed away. But I said, okay, everybody else, does something. I'm going to shave my mustache off for that event, and I've kept it off ever since.
I'm sorry to hear about your son-in-law.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
2010, 11. He was a young recruit with our police service, and he just started not feeling well during recruit training. Within a few weeks, he was gone.
I'm sorry to hear that.
We had, thank you. He had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old at the time as well, so it was pretty tough. But our daughter, she's found a great young man. They have a child together. He, those kids are sort of.
Oh man.
Okay. It's been like 7, 8 years already, and you still feel it.
No doubt.
Mike is the perfect fit for a ready-made family, and he's treated those kids so well. And,
Sounds like you got a great family.
oh, yeah, I'm so blessed.
Now, some people think that because you're in law enforcement, you don't ever have emotion. I spent many hours driving around in my patrol car, shedding tears. So I'm pretty much a softie, a marshmallow, as my kids call me. So it's all good.
I can't do this without my family, and as important as it is to give back to the public, my family has to be at the very core of what I do.
That we can agree on. I appreciate getting to know you a bit more. As you know, we've had a number of circumstances, people's lives being cut short with gun violence in this country. Your government introduced C-71, which is the gun legislation. I mean, I was anticipating something that maybe we could work together on and come up with some really good public safety issues. But when it came out, the majority of its focus was on law-abiding gun owners. The issue is not with Canadian law-abiding gun owners, it's with gangs and guns.
Our government doesn't want to get in the way of law-abiding citizens. That's not the intent.
I know it's not the intent, but
and
the way this
that's not going to
legislation
happen.
is, with the way it's written, and the way it's being spoken about, that's exactly what's happening.
The fact of the matter is that we are seeing some trends which are potentially dangerous and which are concerning. And so that should cause us all to reflect on whether or not the status quo is working. And I'd submit that it's not working. So this is kind of what C-71 is about, is keeping illegal guns out of the hands of criminals. C-71 is anchored, I think, in a lot of these principles, and I know you've got some things to say about that. And I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to hearing you out on that. All right, well, let's do this. Looking forward to it.
Let's hit the road.
Great.
Glenn wants to show Marco the care and safety that the gun owners of his constituency employ.
We'll just do one of these semi-legal, illegal turns here.
Now, Glenn, as a former police officer, I can't imagine you ever violated any Highway Traffic Act laws.
Only in the execution of my duties.
I'm a farm boy, and of course, being myself and the Lone Ranger, grew up with a firearm on my horse, and it was not uncommon for me to go out to town on a Saturday with my horse with a firearm. Give the girls a ride, came home, did my chores, and away we went. So firearms are part and parcel a story of my life. There's two things that you need to know, and they are called the axe and the proof method. So axe, assume every firearm is loaded. C, control the muzzle direction at all times. T, trigger finger must be kept off the trigger. And S, see that the firearm is proved safe. I love this portion. Prove, P-R-O-V-E, point, remove, observe, verify, and examine. So anytime you pick up a firearm, you point the firearm in the safe subbail direction. R, remove all cartridges. O, observe the chamber. V, verify the feeding path. E, examine the bore. How do you examine the bore?
Look down the barrel.
Look down the barrel. I like the way you're thinking. If you do that every time you pick up a firearm and set it down, you're a happy camper. You will never have an accident.
Is the point that as weapons have evolved, we've had a better understanding of how to encourage safety, then the rules and the standards have evolved
tremendously.
And do you think that that's a benefit to achieving safety and education?
That's what it's all about. Education is a very powerful tool. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. This is just a tool.
I'm
keenly aware of how important of a tradition and a sense of culture this is to the folks that I met. I did learn a lot simply by watching.
You put a lot of vigor into the whole firearm licensing requirements.
Once all the paperwork is filled out from the student and myself, I sign off. I look at a valid piece of identification. Then that form is sent in along with 2 references, a picture ID. Our CMP will collect that data, and then it goes through as what they call CPIC, Canadian Processing Information Center. That is a 45-day waiting period. It's monitored. It's always monitored, and it will peg. Maybe you got a speeding ticket, maybe you got a whatever, and it will be pegged. Once that 45 days is cleared, people watch that, and once it's cleared, then the right people will send it back to the chief firearms officer here in Alberta, and then it's finally stamped, and then you will get your licensing. So it's a very in-depth, thorough check.
Full background check.
Full background.
As much history as they have on an individual.
Yes.
So that practice already exists as it stands today.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It's very thorough.
Rigorous. Comprehensive criminal background checks should be done. I don't understand how incorporating them into legislation would in any way change what is already a common best practice.
The law-abiding Canadians who already follow the law, the current law that is more than adequate in those areas. So if we're going to change anything, we need to focus on where is our violence coming from, what element of our society is problem with gun violence, and target that.
Next, Glenn wants Marco to meet a number of his constituents who are law-abiding gun owners.
Part of our job out here is to teach people about firearm safety and firearms in general. I know my dad did it with me, and I do it with my grandson. My grandson's 8 years old. He's got a little 22, and we come out here, and it's always safety, safety, safety.
As a gun shop owner, you have some rules that you follow. Walk us through that process.
Okay, well, first and foremost, when the customer is buying a firearm, we do need to see that he has a valid license, that it's not expired. Then you can pick out, said firearm, whether it be a shotgun or rifle. If it's going to be a restricted firearm, well, then there's more computer work involved. We have to log into the RCMP's database,
CPIC,
and log in and put you as the customer attached to that gun and wait for approval.
Are you keeping some records of those sales?
As a restricted firearm, obviously, those are kept on the computer database through the RCMP, as well as we have a hard copy. On a non-restricted basis, I mean, we have a bill of sale that on this day you were here and you bought a valid license. I don't need to record that license, but on this day you had a valid one.
You had a valid one, and you keep that, and it's not that big of a deal, right?
No.
Okay.
I guess the part that is irritating with the proposed legislation is the amount of paperwork I would have to do as a legal firearm owner going to, I shoot cowboy action, which is...
You're going to have to tell me what that is. So.
I dress as an 1890s cowgirl.
Okay.
I have holsters. I have a set of 6 guns. I have a lever action carbine and a 12-gauge shotgun. We go to Saskatchewan, British Columbia. We go down into the U.S. to shoot. When I go to another province, I get a short-term, what's called a ATT, to go to that province.
For transporting
to shoot
it?
Yeah, to transport it short-term. The proposed legislation, I need another short-term ATT to send it to a gunsmith. I'll need a short-term to go to the border.
Anywhere except for your shooting range,
in my
right?
little diameter around my club.
There is no evidence that anybody is able to show me or find that says that law-abiding gun owners who travel with ATTs to competitions or these have posed a problem. I know that there's firearms floating around our country that are illegal, and the ATT shift in C-71 won't impact them, and that's the concern.
We don't want to create headaches. We do want to make sure that we're striking the right balance between safety and
I appreciate that last comment, because I think C-71 has some work to do to not create headaches and strike the right balance. And I think, we still, I don't know what's going to happen with C-71 moving forward, but there's still opportunity to make it better.
Okay. So can I invite you out to the range and we do some shooting?
I'll come out. Yeah, I'll come out.
Pick something you want.
I'm just going to observe today.
You chose not to participate in that. I don't know the exact reasoning behind it.
So I'm aiming for that little gray
You're
thing.
aiming for the little gray thing. And when you hit it,
You'll hear it. We'll all hear it.
I chose not to participate in the shooting range exercise, first and foremost, because they still kind of make me a bit anxious and nervous, I'll be honest.
I think I heard it. She hit it. I don't want to shoot and miss.
I think it's important that the urban Canada here, that law-abiding gun owners are not the enemy. This should not be a division between East and West and between urban and rural, because that isn't what it needs to be about.
I really feel strongly that this will go a long way to make a difference on public safety and opening up dialogue.
I hope you're right, and having this kind of dialogue will help us work together and find some common ground on an issue that I know that matters to you and also to the folks back in my riding. And we're looking forward to having you there.
Now it's Marco's turn.
Hey, Glenn.
How are you doing, my friend?
Welcome to Toronto.
Good. Well,
how you doing? Yeah.
He wants to show Glenn the reality of one community in his riding that has suffered from terrible gun violence.
You know, in your community, what I heard was people want to be sure that when you're handling a gun or a firearm, that they're doing it with the utmost safety. In my community, people want to be safe from guns. Because in part of some of the sustained trends that we've seen in gun violence, we're revisiting our laws.
I think people are talking more about mental health issues and issues around access and to resources that will help them. We have many kids who are going to schools, and the schools are not safe. We have young men who, you know, don't feel any sense of self-worth. And it's not really about guns or whether we have guns. If somebody wants to take somebody's life, they'll find a way to do it.
Yeah.
And until we deal with the roots of violence and why children are doing this in the first place, then it doesn't matter what we do.
I think it may start with, I'm a poor kid living in the hood, so to speak. So I'm watching TV and I'm seeing, oh, this person has this or this person has that. Then someone else may say, hey, well, you can have this too. You know, here's $20 or whatever it is. Just kind of stand at the street corner or whatever the case may be and kind of keep an eye out for the police. And then before long, you become really involved, where now it may be a case of, well, you know what, you're 13. Can you keep this handgun or can you keep this sawed-off shotgun before you realize you're completely involved in all of this sort of stuff?
If we could come up with a set of rules and laws that reduce the likelihood that those totally prohibited weapons and guns would be in our community, would you be in favor of that?
While I think enforcement and those sort of pieces are definitely going to be a part of it, I think if that becomes the only area that we focus on in terms of coming to a solution, then we have completely missed the point.
I would agree.
And we're completely ignoring what are those core issues that gets a gun in someone's hand.
Both of our communities, as we visited them, they want to keep Canadians safe. They want to feel safe. You know, mothers and fathers want to know that when their kids go to the playground, or whether or not they're going to work or to school, or getting on the subway or getting on the bus, you want to know that they're going to be okay. And tragically, they're not.
We love you.
I love you too, man. Take care.
Thanks for playing ball with us.
Yeah. That'll warm your heart.
Yeah, it really does, doesn't it? It reminds me that I'm not as young as I used to be.
Marco wants Glenn to meet a local teacher and one of his former students.
People growing up marginalized in these types of communities tend to be desensitized. So everybody internalizes trauma differently. But I think one of the big concerns we have is that there's a disconnect between the parents and the kids, because the parents are coming from war-torn countries in these communities. So they've become desensitized also. So they become immune to witnessing different circumstances of violence. But they're not addressing how they're coping with this challenge. And then there's not a lot of supports for the young children. So when their mental health is overwhelmed with all these challenges, and if it's not being addressed, their choices are being impacted. And then combined with the access to these sort of weapons.
And is that a concern, like the access?
Yes, the ban on guns need to happen. At the same time, how do you ensure that a community as marginalized as ours, as vulnerable, can make education and choices as alluring as crime?
Banning handguns, in my opinion, and the opinions of many Canadians, won't work because the laws that we have in place now to keep you and I safe from gun violence only works for those who are law-abiding Canadians.
The ones that choose not to follow that law, it matters not what the law is, because they won't follow it anyway.
I hear what you're saying, but I still feel that specifically in Toronto and in the GTA and in communities like ours, which are numerous.
Yeah.
It's not just Lawrence Heights community is the only one like this. There are many like this. The ban has to exist as a way to make sure they're not freely circulating.
There are other jurisdictions in Europe, like in Germany, like in the United Kingdom, who have, like in Australia as well, who have implemented a ban on handguns, where we have seen the incidence of violence involving the use of guns dramatically fall off a cliff.
Banning firearms is not, we are not ending violence by banning firearms, Marco. That will never happen in this country, because we'll still have firearms in this country illegally. All the laws in the world will not save everybody, unfortunately.
That shouldn't stop us from trying.
Oh, absolutely not.
Does that stop us from looking for ways to revisit the criminal law in a way that will address the concerns that you're hearing about?
But if we already know, based on the evidence that we have now, that the people that are acquiring firearms are acquiring them around the law and in spite of the law, why would we even want to go down the path of even considering firearm bans, handgun bans in this country? You want to make evidence-based decision-making, Marco, you're not doing it. You're not following the, where's the stats to show this?
You agree, don't you, that other jurisdictions have passed gun bans, handgun bans, haven't you?
Have their violent crime rates decreased? No.
Well, sorry, from the aggregate numbers and statistics that we are aware of in those jurisdictions, that gun crimes have gone down in those jurisdictions.
Next, Marco brings Glenn to meet a mother who has first-hand experience with gun violence.
We're at the playground where my girls got shot.
Your children are in here playing?
Yeah,
over by the basketball hoop?
Yeah, with 11 other kids, we're playing in the playground that day.
And so there was other individuals here in the playground that was the target of the shooting?
Yes, one of the children's father was in the playground with the children. They aimed to hit him, but he ran and it hit my children. My 7-year-old got grazed by the bullet by her head. My 9-year-old got by the right ankle, and my 5-year-old got shot twice in her stomach.
Wow. And how are they all doing it from a physical health perspective?
They're healing okay, but the trauma is still in there. My 5-year-old has nightmares, and she's lucky to survive the kind of impact of the bullet.
Yes.
This day, they're always going to remember. I'm going to always remember this day. I still have nightmares.
Well, talking and speaking with Stacy was, I think, the most powerful moment.
There's one there.
Is that it right there, Glenn?
There's one of them.
I never really looked.
Right there.
Yeah.
It was personal. And when you have young children and you see how young they are and how fragile they are, you don't want to let her down.
Since this happened, I created my business called It Takes a Community Village Against Guns and Violence. So I'm working on trying to put leadership programs for the youths, going into schools to speaking to youths, asking young youths, what do you think we need to help them, to encourage them? We have to put the money that the mayor and Doug Ford is putting towards in other ways, not to police. That's going to make more problems. Those youths are not afraid of cops, really and truthfully. They don't fear cops. They don't care. Majority, if you ask them, they say by the time they're 30-something, they're either dead or in jail. And that's sad.
I think she's putting her faith and her trust in people like me and like Glenn to take up the hard policy debate. But I do think that she expects us to put aside partisanship.
I am telling you, if that does not motivate trying to find a way to cooperate, I don't know what will. I really have to believe that we can do that, because we owe it to Stacy. We owe it to your constituents.
Well,
I hope you feel the same way.
I do, and we owe it to all Canadians to get this right. I'm not a fan of C-71, as I've indicated to Marco. I'm not afraid to say that. But that doesn't change my opinion of him.
Yeah, this isn't awkward. 2 MPs from opposing parties getting changed.
It has been fantastic getting to know him a little bit and understanding his background.
Oh my goodness.
Glenn took the step of deciding to run for public office after already having dedicated an entire career as a police officer. So he gets public safety. He understands the law.
Will we still have partisan politics on the issue? Yes, we will. But I think at the end of the day, what we need in the public discourse is being able to debate without hate.
We're never going to get rid of all gun violence, but that should not stop us from having the conversation, because if we can save just one innocent life, then I think we've done our job.
Into Canada, jumping the queue, skipping the line, and forcing others to wait longer because more and more resources have to go to those coming into Canada illegally.
Mr. Speaker, we are ensuring that our immigration system remains fair and compassionate, all the while ensuring the integrity of our border and the security of our communities.
Canada has been a beacon of hope to refugees around the world, those who are escaping danger and persecution. But are Canadians changing their tune on the issue? Are recent refugee crossings at the border a crisis or just another problem to be solved? Our experiment plays political Cupid by taking two opposing politicians out of their comfort zone.
Are you going to cross irregularly? Like Justin Trudeau tweet, you're welcome in Canada. If they cross up there, we can't catch them.
And forces them to listen to one another.
People come to Canada illegally, irregularly. When you cross the border, it's illegal.
We also want to make sure that people don't die.
We're sending them on a series of platonic dates to solve the thorniest issues facing Canadians.
I'm going to need a martini soon.
Who will seduce the other with logic or passion? And what surprises are in store? This is Political Blind Date.
I grew up in a very political household. My mother was as liberal as you can get. Once she said that if you cut yourself and you bleed red, you're a liberal. If you bleed orange, you're NDP. If you bleed blue, you're going to be a conservative. But if you bleed red, you should be a liberal. So after a couple of years of working at Algoma Steel, I thought I wanted to try something different. So I took a year to study at the Vancouver School of Theology at UBC in Vancouver and begin the study towards a degree in theology. It was a great period of my life, and the church had a national system of settlement. I left there after a few years and went to Toronto and continued in the church. Big congregation in Toronto, and I was 52 years old and thinking, I've got something left in me that wants to do something a little different, and I decided that I would like to get into politics. Early on, I found myself as an openly gay man representing the riding with the largest Muslim population in Canada. That's not a normal thing. They were suspicious of me, of course, and they're a fairly conservative, small c conservative Muslim population, and I just stood with them. And I said, your problems are my problems. Not only are your problems my problems, but the Charter of Rights and Freedoms that protects you is the charter that protects me as a gay person. We have more in this together than apart.
I'm born in the Eastern Township, but I'm just 1 year old. I moved to Quebec City, 17 years old. I just finished my high school, joined the Army Reserve, so I've been trained as a private at the beginning. Then I switched to become an officer. I studied in political science, Laval University. And then after that, I have to choose if I want to stay in the reserve, go in the full-time army. And he said, yes, so I started working with him. I was just a young officer. I was in charge of the magazine for the next 20 years. Grew up captain, major, then become the commanding officer of my regiment. At that time, I've been received by the Queen in Buckingham Palace. My military experience and my business experience make me a better MP, actually. For my colleagues, they saw me as a military first, but I've been in business for 20 years. But they saw me, first of all, as a military guy. They called me, some of them called me Colonel. How are you, Colonel? Always, maybe because I have my attitude. I'm stay like a military. When I talk, when I walk, I think I look like a military for them. We have to protect Canada from coast to coast to coast. We have to manage the border. We manage our country the best way we can.
Canada has long taken in those who need our help. Resettling refugees is at the heart of what it is to be Canadian. But some critics say that in a time when Donald Trump's America has become hostile to all forms of immigration, Canada is left vulnerable to a wave of migrants from south of the border. These people are choosing to cross the longest undefended border in the world without following Canada's rules for seeking asylum. Ground zero for these border crossings is Roxom Road on the Quebec-New York border, where thousands of asylum claimants have arrived over the past 2 years, seeking status as refugees in Canada. Crossing here is illegal, but the moment asylum is claimed, the claimants get to stay in Canada while their cases are processed. The Liberal government says that we need to invest the resources necessary to process their claims. The Conservatives say that this is an unacceptable expense, that these asylum seekers are breaking the law and should be sent back to the U.S., just as they would had they entered at a regular border crossing. What are the two parties willing to do about this situation at our border? Pierre and Rob are spending the day together, rare for rival politicians. Will they butt heads, or might they find common ground?
Actually, we're here in Quebec, so today I'll be with Rob Oliphant. I don't really know him a lot, but I think Rob is not so happy to meet with me. Because in the House of Commons for the last 2 years, I asked a lot of questions. I pushed very hard on the issue with my colleagues. I think a lot of Liberals don't like me.
I'm known, I think, as an annoying person at times. I'm known as raising issues of conscience.
We can't talk about immigration without any... It's always kind of bad discussion. The Liberals said we are racist, so each time we want to talk about it, it's impossible. I don't know why.
You scratch beneath the surface, and there are people who are simply afraid of the other.
We'll see when I have a chat with him.
It's absolutely critical that we keep a human face on it and understand that these are real people.
We're always talking about illegal border crosser, but there are people, they are humans, and I know that these people just want to have a better life, and I think our job is just to keep the border safe. That's it. Here we are, we're ready.
Salut,
Rob.
ça va bien?
If I have something I can say, I can explain in English.
Exactement la même chose en français pour moi.
C'est bon.
Je peux comprendre presque tout en français.
Ah oui? So welcome.
Quebec City is a city I go through often because my husband comes from Rimouski.
Oh, yeah, okay. So it's why you speak French too. You have to.
I have to speak French at home.
Yes.
We find we actually speak French on the telephone a lot. But when we're arguing, he argues in French and I argue in English.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting.
So I have to understand it.
Yeah. You're the chair of the immigration committee. So you know that we have a problem in Canada, actually. We have two problems. The first one is the illegal border crosser issue. And the other one is that we think the system is broken down.
So the first thing is, why do you say illegal?
Because it's illegal to cross the border.
We know that that's not the case.
I will keep that point. No, I mean...
We know it is illegal for me to cross. So if I go across the border and I come back at an irregular border crossing, it's illegal.
Yep.
It is very clear in Canadian law and international law that if you seek asylum on the other side, it's not illegal.
I mean...
It's irregular.
And it's why we want to change the rules. There's a loophole in the Safe Third Country Agreement. All these people come from the U.S. And they're supposed to ask asylum in the U.S.
The Safe Third Country Agreement, which the Conservative government had, by the way, for 9 years. This is not a liberal thing. You were in government for 9 years.
I know, but the agreement was clear. If you arrive, and people were supposed to arrive at the main
ports of entry.
Main port of entry. And then at that point, if people ask for asylum, and the guy will say, no, you can't. You have to go back in the U.S.
I mean, we've got the NDP saying get rid of the Safe Third Agreement completely, scrap it. Yeah. They say the United States is not a safe third country.
That's true.
The Conservatives are saying make the whole border, like build a wall.
No, that's not true.
Country.
This is your line. This is the way you try to put the Conservative in a corner, saying that they're crazy.
So if Roxom Road is closed, then I'm going to get in a boat and I'm going to cross Lake Ontario and I'm going to die.
No, I know.
You're going to die. Refugees
But this is not the point.
Die.
The point, if you want to cross the border, the main point of entry, we have an agreement. We say go back in the U.S. So, what is the difference if you cross the Roxom Road or somewhere else? If you cross the border to come in Canada, you're not supposed to be able to ask asylum because you come from the U.S. That's it. This is that simple. So, correct.
I'm going to need a martini soon. We have a challenge. I'm not dismissing we have a challenge.
We have to change the Third Safe Country Agreement's rules. Just
how do you change that?
It's your job.
It's our job together.
I've been 3-4 times in Washington. I met a lot of congressmen there, senators, and a guy said, "It's your problem now. You take these people in your country because we have 30 million illegal people in the U.S."
People don't want to come to Canada. Actually, most refugees want to stay in their own homes. Let's help them stay. 20,000 in a year, 18,000, something like that. That is not a crisis unless someone wants to play with it and call it a crisis.
It's a kind of crisis. And we have to understand that Canada is a big country, but not so big. And we don't have all the space we need to accept a lot of people. So now, Rob, we're going to the place where people come to Canada illegally.
Irregularly.
Pierre has taken Rob across the Quebec border to New York State and to the place that has been at the heart of the border crossing issue.
So, Roxom Road. So people used to come that way to take a bus in New York City, go to Champlain, then they have a taxi, and the taxi bring these people just here.
Roxom Road runs through the border between southern Quebec and northern New York State. It is not a legal port of entry, so anyone, including a Canadian or U.S. citizen, would break the law crossing here. Still, under Canadian and international law, someone crossing has the right to claim asylum. Until recently, there was no need for RCMP or border agents here. But since early 2017, close to 40,000 people have entered Canada in this manner, 96% of which crossed at Roxom Road.
As you can see, it is illegal to cross the border here or any place off lines of port of entry. It's illegal to cross. That means it's illegal to cross.
So it's illegal for us to cross?
For us and for
It's
everyone.
absolutely illegal for anyone to cross unless I claim asylum on the other side.
Understand.
Then it's no longer illegal.
Imagine 38,000 people cross the border here. You know, that small place. And it's so easy. Just jump off the taxi with the luggage. Okay. So, oh, they change it? Oh, the path is there. They change it. Okay. So now, look, the entry of the garbage. You can throw your garbage there and cross the border.
And these are
Before it was
real,
there. They changed
real
it.
people. These are people with stories.
I know
They've
there are
come
some stories.
from broken countries. This may be a mother and 3 children.
There's millions
Remember,
of people.
40% of the crossers here are children. These are
Not 40%,
these are kids.
13%.
30%?
Yeah, 13.
40%, I think, are young people, and 30% are minors. These are little kids, and these are parents trying to find a way that their kids will be safe. Are you going to cross here regularly?
No, this is the border. So that's easy. So welcome, and like Justin Trudeau tweet, you're welcome in Canada. That way. So easy.
And if they cross up there,
no.
If they cross up there, we can't catch them. And we want to catch them. We want to apprehend them. We want to make sure that
We can't catch them because we don't have the system. We have 2 points of entry, just 1 kilometer that way and 2 kilometers that way.
And it's
this
not
is
normal.
the place if you want to come in Canada. You have to go there. And it's why there's a sign. It's there. And if you read it, don't be victim of misinformation. So,
and they will
what
be
is the
arrested.
misinformation?
They will be arrested.
Yes.
And we have the capacity. And
This
when
is
they
just
get
what
on
we
this
want
other
here in
side,
Canada. We want it.
well, when they get on the other side, they're going to go through security processes. We're going to hear their claims. Half of them, about half, or maybe a little more than half, are going to be sent back because they're not bona fide refugees.
And sent back where? In their own countries. So
They're going to be
it's
sent back,
worse for
1
them.
million.
But what is your point? Do you want to have to open the border here? Let the
They won't
border
come here.
open like this?
They can't
And to
physically
send
come
people
here.
come here. Why they can't?
They can't physically come here. They won't get here. That's just the reality of their lives. And when we determine they're not refugees, they're gone.
Right. So there's people who will have seen their dreams broken because we'll have to deport them and it would be worse for them. It's why I think technically it's a good way to manage the situation at one point. But at the end of the day, we have to stop it.
Really glad I got to go to Roxom Road. And I've come back saying huge respect for Canada Border Services, for the government operations that are managing it.
I thought you'd get arrested. I thought they're going to arrest you.
No. So you still believe that's a good idea to cross the border that way? So.
It's never, no, I mean, absolutely. You want people to cross the border at a regular border crossing. That's the goal. And, you know, we want asylum claims to be fairly adjudicated. The reality is that people get desperate.
But you think it's fair for all the other people who want to come in Canada, to live in Canada? This is not, for us, this is not fair. Actually, it's 38,000 people. Some people will say, oh, it's not so bad. It's not millions like in Europe. We know that. But it's why we have to change the rules to make sure that people who want to come here are on the legal side.
Back in the Canadian border town of Saint-Bernard-de-la-Colle, Pierre shows Rob the government facility set up to temporarily house the border crossers.
I want to protect their privacy.
Which privacy?
The privacy of the people getting on the bus.
Well, we're far enough.
So I don't want to treat it like it's a spectacle, and I don't want to treat it like it's a zoo.
Okay.
They're human beings, and I want to make sure they have dignity and are getting on a bus.
Actually, there's enough place for 500 people there. Is this supposed to be a permanent situation?
One hopes not. One absolutely hopes that there's change of government in their home country, change of government south of the border, and the flow stops. What I am the most impressed about is the fact that I've not seen this before, and the government's got a plan. Hi there. Bonjour, monsieur. Robert.
Bonjour.
I guess right now the government, what they should do, like us, we try to get truck drivers from overseas.
Yeah.
They should accelerate their process.
Yeah.
So because
You have a labor shortage. You need more truck drivers.
Just in province of Quebec, I was reading last night. In 3 years from now, will be 20,000 truck drivers. Just truck drivers, beside mechanic and all that.
Is it perfect? No. Can we do better? Yes.
Actually, all the bureaucrats are so busy with the illegal migrants, they can't receive more people.
They're getting money from our pocket.
Yeah.
And I think we need the money somewhere else. At least if the money would be put on the right side, it would be better. But I'll ask you a question. Is that the only place in Canada where they come in?
No, we have a small number in Manitoba. For a while, Manitoba was actually quite big. It's dropped way down.
Okay.
A few in British Columbia, but it's about 900, I think, here at Lacal, and maybe 20 or 30 in Manitoba, and 20 or 30 in
province of Quebec is the big one.
Everybody loves Quebec.
We have good people.
You're good people.
Merci.
He's not going to buy it.
It would cost $1.1 billion for 3 years just for federal departments to manage these people.
Now it's Rob's turn. Back in his Toronto riding, Rob wants Pierre to visit a business built by immigrants that makes it their mission to employ refugees.
Good morning, how are you? I'm Greg Smith. Welcome to Paramount Middle Eastern Kitchen.
Welcome.
This is Zaid, our restaurant owner.
Very good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I was here for your opening.
Yes.
Right now, we talk to chambers of commerce, we talk to business owners, we talk to boards of trade. We're short labor. We need more skilled labor, we need more general laborers, we need more professionals.
Right this way, gentlemen. It's not as easy as it looks, but there you go. One of our gentlemen right here who's been working with us for a little while.
And what's your name?
Alex.
Where are you from?
Iraq.
From Iraq.
Miriam, she's been with us for almost a year maybe. She works on the bakery and she works on the front as well, and Alex on the bakery and the line as well. And they've both been great team players, and we're lucky to have both of them. Yeah? So they adjusted. She has a family and her kids go to school and stuff.
How old are your kids?
My daughter, 8 years.
8 years.
My son, 6 years.
So 1 year and a half before that, you don't speak English at all?
No.
Wow. So you learn fast?
Yeah.
That's good. You do? I'm from Quebec, so I speak French. And we have a problem in Quebec because people who came from other countries to learn French is too tough. They want to move here or somewhere else in Canada. They don't stay in Quebec. That's why we have some problem to have some refugees and some people who want to leave.
Do you find your English is improving here at the restaurant too? I mean, you have to speak English, or do you mostly speak Arabic?
No,
here?
I have I have friend, Canadian friend.
Oh, yeah, you're getting from him. Well, that's good. We have an aging population. We have a low birth rate. We have a big country. We have an economy that's changing and emerging out of an old resource-based economy. We need people.
Rob thinks it's important that Pierre meet some of the refugee women from his riding.
Good morning.
Morning.
Rob introduces Pierre to a recent refugee from Afghanistan who is now teaching parenting skills to other refugee women.
You crossed over from the U.S.?
Yeah.
How long ago?
2 years, because before I had studied in Afghanistan back, and also I had my bachelor degree in journalism, and then I studied political science. And then when I come here, I was searching for a job. I did volunteering with Afghan women's organization for a long time, and then I started working here.
Was it scary for you to cross the border and come to Canada?
It was a little bit scary because I didn't know if it works or not, but they accept me, and I just claim on the border and come inside Canada.
Where you went?
I come through the Niagara Falls to the Rainbow Village.
The teacher, she came in Canada illegally. She crossed the border from the U.S., and then I was not very happy with this because in front of all the other women wait their turn in Afghanistan.
You have a work permit, so you get to work.
Yeah, I have a work permit, and my status is a protected person convention refugee.
Good. We have a lot of stories around this room, I bet.
I'm from Afghanistan.
killed Taliban, my husband.
Your
My
husband was
children
killed by
is-
the Taliban.
Yes, yes,
We're glad you came.
yes. Never ever is speak English. Now came to Canada before 2 years. Now is class is good. I'm little bit talking.
Oh,
I go
you're
to
good.
doctor,
You're good.
everything. I like.
So we know that the processes are slow, that families are still broken, that they need to be reunited, and it's something we need to keep working on.
I saw his writing here in Toronto. You have a lot of people coming from everywhere in the world. So his situation is quite different of mine. I'm from Quebec City. It's 99% of white French people in Quebec City. We're not used to live the reality that Rob have to live.
I'm inspired by them. Some of them are broken, no doubt about it. We saw women today who don't have all the skills they need. They don't have the language skills yet. They don't have the confidence. They don't have the social skills. They don't have the networking skills. Well, thank goodness we're taking the time to help them build that.
Rob takes Pierre to meet a unique hockey team at a rink in his riding.
Come on in, guys. My name is Moiseen Hasham.
Moiseen?
Moiseen. Or Mo, for short. Coach Mo.
So we have in common that we both started playing hockey at 6.
Ah.
The difference is I stopped at 7.
Boys and girls, I want to take the opportunity to introduce you to two important gentlemen who are here. They actually represent Canadians in Parliament in Ottawa.
You know, this is the son of a refugee from Uganda today running a hockey group. He's doing this to build a charity to help kids. Way more in charity than I give. Way more than most Canadians give.
How many were born in Canada?
None.
Nobody was born in Canada. What countries are you from?
So which countries?
Afghanistan?
Syria.
Syria?
Sudan.
Sudan?
India.
India?
Syria.
Syria?
We have kids from 25 different countries of origin. The vast majority of them have never skated before. It really helps them just in terms of developing confidence, and we want them to go out and do other things, but this is really that base that we've developed here. Let's play hockey once a week. Should we do a scrimmage today? A little shinny action? We'll have Team Pierre and Team Rob. What do you guys think?
One of the things that happens in politics is we objectify the other. They're someone else. They must be bad.
He's a very good man. Before this, for me, was just a liberal.
Reasonable, thoughtful, and I'm really glad to get to know him.
And we have fun together. We play hockey.
I give him full credit of walking through the day to engage in a world that's not normal for him.
He respects my view. I respect his view.
Canada faces a reckoning when it comes to the treatment of Indigenous peoples. How are we meant to remember our nation-building leaders, especially those who harmed these communities? Should symbols of these historical figures be taken down? Can we accommodate both the true history of Indigenous peoples while also recognizing the contributions made by Canada's early politicians? Our experiment plays Political Cupid by taking two opposing politicians out of their comfort zone and forces them to listen to one another.
How do you see reconciliation going forward?
The validation of a living history of our people.
We're sending them on a series of platonic dates to solve the thorniest issues facing Canadians.
All the people that worked so hard to put that statue up, I think they should leave it there.
Who will seduce the other with logic or passion? And what surprises are in store? This is Political Blind Date.
My name is Jeff McLaren. I'm from Kingston, Ontario, and I represent District 8 at City Council. One of my major influences in my life was my dad. He's a historian. He studied history. Got me interested in it. We always had historical conversations, and we had many books on the subject, and we played many historical battle games like Risk and Axis and Allies. I started university in Victoria, but ended up deciding to go to Ottawa to continue my education. We can all identify that something bad and wrong happened in our past. What exactly it was, it's pretty clear. So there's no real debate about that, but what we should be doing about it going forward, I think, is where the debate is. We've had this one dominant perspective, which is the Western perspective. At the same time, there's a lot of people in Canada who have a different perspective, a very different perspective. And it's usually Indigenous people who've been here longer than non-Indigenous people. It's only recently that I think it's become part of the national narrative in a way that it has never been before. We're living in a time when we can do this right or we can do this wrong. And I don't see that happening by taking down things that are of value to some people because we're taking something away. That's the wrong answer. I've been hearing calls to take down that statue since I got elected 7 years ago. We are at a critical moment in history right now, and we can go forward in a positive way that's better for all of us coming together, that makes the world, Canada, better, or we can go forward in a way that is punitive and likely to create more resentment, and I hope that we choose the better way.
Saul Mamakwa, Member of Provincial Parliament for the Kiwetnug riding. I was born in Sulakot. I had a very good childhood. My parents took me out on the land, camping, fishing, trapping. I grew up without any running water, hydro, airport, or airstrip in the community. My dad ran the local Hudson's Bay Company store. My mom took care of people, what you could call a community health representative at that time. When you think about you get a detention for speaking your language or ask to cut your hair with no option to say no, you just think it's just the way things are. When we talk about monuments, statues, finding remains of children, it's a very difficult discussion. It's so difficult for me to acknowledge those statues on the history of what they've done. I'm not saying bring them down. I'm not saying that. We need to be able to have a dialogue on what we do with them. Hear us. Not just hear us, but listen to us.
Symbols of colonialism and post-colonialism have stood in our society without much attention in the past. All that has changed following the recovery of the remains of 215 children in unmarked graves in Kamloops and subsequently many more around the country. Residential schools were pushed to the forefront of the national conversation. Canadians were forced to reflect on historical figures who were held in high regard, but who also perpetrated systemic abuses against Indigenous people. On June 18, 2021, a statue of Canada's first Prime Minister, Sir John A. Macdonald, was removed from City Park in Kingston, Ontario, where it had stood since 1895. Protesters pointed to Sir John A.'s role in the promotion of residential schools and his government's poor treatment of Indigenous peoples. Advocates of keeping statues like Macdonald's argue that erasure of the past does not help anyone. How do Canadians come to terms with imperfect historical figures? Is removing a statue simply in service of political correctness? Or is it acknowledging the complete picture? Saul and Jeff are spending the day together, rare for politicians at different levels of government. Will they butt heads, or might they find common ground?
I'm going to be meeting Sol Mamakwa today. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He is a NDP member of provincial parliament.
All I know is that he's a council member, and that's all I know. It starts with dialogue, so I'm excited to meet this individual. I look forward to that discussion and hope to hear his perspective.
I see history moving forward by an increase in the number of voices that are given legitimacy in textbooks, in monuments, in the teaching of actual history. And in that sense, I'm very much against removing statues.
Every day when I'm at the provincial legislature, when I walk into Queen's Park, you see all these busts and you see all these statues as you walk by. And I know as a First Nations person, I realize that system was never built for First Nations people, and I see it and I live it.
When you realize that you're doing something wrong or racist or negative, you critically identify it and you change. And it's our duty, it's our task, that when it's pointed out that our actions are detrimental to another group or another person, we need to reevaluate them. And I suspect that I may be learning a lot in that respect today.
I think change comes from dialogue. If we talk about Indigenous issues, and if you just sit on the fence, you're on the side of the oppressor, you're the side of the colonizer. And I think, it is courageous. Again, it starts with dialogue. Hey.
Hi, Jeff McLaren.
My name is Saul.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you, man.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you for coming to Kingston.
Yeah, it's my first time here.
Okay. Well, I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah. I'm always good in, like going to new places, but obviously meeting new people as well, right?
Yes. So I was born in Saskatchewan. My parents moved to British Columbia. I went to school in Ottawa. I was thinking of becoming a priest for a little while. Then I met my wife, and she's Korean. Met her in Ottawa. So we went to Korea for 9 years. Decided to come back here, partly because my son didn't fit in there. He's half Korean, half white, and he wasn't adapting very well to their schooling system. When he came back here, it was thriving. So a multicultural system, I very much believe in that. And the idea that you can express or allow for the expression of very different, diverse views, it clearly helped in my son's case.
I worked for this organization that represented 49 First Nations in Northern Ontario. I understood how the system treated people. It was never about First Nations people. So when they approached me to run as a member of provincial parliament, it's just people don't understand our perspective. People don't know about their real history. And
the history that I was taught was one sort of victorious, Victorian history, that perspective alone. And it's not the only one. My personal view is that we should be giving space and the opportunity for the voice of any particular group. So what I've always argued for is, instead of tearing down a statue, make space for an Indigenous perspective on Sir John A. that reflects your lived experience.
We just need to figure out a process on how to address that issue. I think Sir John A. Macdonald's statue totally means different for me. Like, I don't condone violence. I don't condone vandalism. How do you compare statue? How do you compare the children's remains that are being found in residential schools? And I think that speaks volumes. And so it's so important to come up with a process. And none of us, we wouldn't be able to come up with not us, but it's the communities where these statues are that need to determine that. He was the only one out of the 13 council members in Kingston voted against removing Sir John A. Macdonald's statue. I will not try to change his mind. As long as he understands what it means, the real history of Canada, I think I would have done my job.
Based on time, I think there's a few other people who are waiting to meet you.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
that'd be great. I'm looking
Okay.
forward to meeting new people, always.
At the former site of the Sir John A. Macdonald statue, Jeff introduces Saul to a local historian who can help paint a more complete picture of Canada's first Prime Minister.
Previously, history was more oriented towards the great man's story, the strong leader, whether that's an individual like Napoleon, Sir John A., that type of thing. And now it incorporates other themes such as Indigenous peoples, women, children, the economy, and so forth. So as the picture expands, our perspectives change over time.
That's a more complete history. We don't want to say at some point, we know everything there is to know about history. We want to add to it so we can get a more complete picture, because oftentimes history repeats and we can learn from the past.
This is where the statue was. Right on top of the stone element here was a higher construct with marble and other stone. People from their youth had a particular view of Macdonald, the development of Canada, and all of a sudden this is being changed and questioned and debated. You know, I go to cafes a lot. Well, now that we can, I hear people discussing these things, and as a historian, I'm thinking, this is wonderful. It's great to see people questioning this, debating it, because this is what historians do. Should we have a memorial to an individual? Yes, he played a key role. Nobody is questioning that. Nobody's saying we should get rid of that. But how does that sit relative to everything going on? And that's the historical debate that's going on today.
Were you here when they removed it?
Yes, I was. Yeah, it was quite an emotional day. I caught myself the minute the statue moved. I sort of went, and I realized we had reached a point where we're going to have to examine what we're going to do. How are we going to remember him?
She was on site when they pulled it off. I asked her how she felt to actually hear a historian feel that way. I just felt that there's humanity in her. There's humanity in, in the systems that are there. And I think that's part of the change.
And one of the challenges, I guess, that came out of the residential school system was so many groups lost their heritage. What they had been taken and dispersed to museums around the world. So nobody knew what this material was. Fortunately, now we're learning and we're incorporating that. So.
For a historian to tell me that, the way she understands the history, and also the unlearned, the untaught history. She believes that needs to be included. And I'm very glad to have met her.
Next, Jeff wants Saul to meet local First Nations people who can demonstrate that there is a variety of opinions about how to remember figures like Sir John A. Macdonald.
And welcome to the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee. This was the old school registers for the Indian Day schools.
Wow. I know what's in there.
Right here?
Yeah.
Wow.
Bulwark Miracle, 1942.
Look at this.
So Sir John A. Macdonald met with the Haudenosaunee Council in Brantford in 1886.
So I understand that Sir John A. has a very bad history with Indigenous people. How should we look at history going forward?
Sir John A. Macdonald liked Indian people. He had Indian friends. There was part of him that wanted inclusivity, but on his terms. The goal was really to anglicize and Christianize the Indigenous people, so they would be like the European people. When he formed Confederation, he didn't invite the Indians to be part of the conversation. Under the Indian legislation for students between the 7 and 15 to attend either an Indian day school or a residential school, it became the law. The Indian agent took them to the residential schools, and they were to facilitate the assimilation process.
When we first arrived, my mother lied to me to get my brother. We were going to go visit him. We went to the school and she said, we'll stay here. So they had a room with 2 beds in it. We got ready and we went to bed. So the next morning got up and I said to the boys, Master, where's my mom? And she said, she's gone and you got to stay here.
How did you feel about the removal or moving the statue here?
Well, I talked to my council, and they felt that you can get rid of objects, but to me, that it's just an object. It's not Sir John A. Macdonald, but what lives on is the impact of his policies. We need to educate the people more. One of the calls to action in the 94 recommendations for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was that there needed to be a curriculum developed to educate the public about the history of the country they live in and its interaction and relationship with Indigenous people. I don't think that destroying property will solve anything. There needs to be reconciliation. What's the country going to do, or the people who enjoy the benefits this place, living in this country, provides, to get rid of the poverty and the despair that so many people, Indigenous people, suffer from?
My personal feelings from that, I worked hard. All the people that worked so hard to put that statue up, I think they should leave it there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I really appreciate meeting you. I really enjoy your stories.
Thank you.
I feel a lot better now.
And one of the things that struck me as well is when he said, that they shouldn't bring down the statues. One, because they're a work of art, but also a work of history, the real history that we don't really know about.
In the past, we've let the Indigenous people be put aside.
Yeah.
And now it seems that we're doing that to Sir John A. I kind of sort of see that as two wrongs don't necessarily make a right.
We need to have the input of survivors. We need to have the input of First Nation leaders. We need to have the input of, families of survivors to be able to have that discussion on what we do with the statues.
The path forward is very clear. We talked about a lot of things that could be done right now if there were the political will were there.
And I look forward to seeing you in Sulicote.
I look forward to going.
Yeah, there'll be, I'll welcome you to the great Rio, Northern Ontario.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Sounds good.
Okay, we'll see you.
All the best.
All right, okay, we'll see you.
Now it's Saul's turn.
Hello.
Good to see you again.
Likewise.
All right.
All right.
Welcome to Sulicote.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Sulicote is your constituency office and your home as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was actually born here as well.
Okay.
Saul wants Jeff to hear from a local lawyer about how Canada's legal system has discriminated against Indigenous peoples ever since the Indian Act was passed in 1876.
Thank you. This is Jeff.
Trina?
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Even just from a legal standpoint, like cases in the 1800s where, First Nations were going to court arguing for custom marriage, different things. You weren't allowed to hire a lawyer if you were First Nation or an Indian. Yeah, and then you couldn't join the law profession unless you enfranchised yourself and gave up who you were as a member of your community. And if you did find a lawyer that was not Indigenous that did want to help you, they were kicked out of the law societies.
Oh.
So if you want to fight in a system where you want to fight for your rights, and people are saying like, maybe you should have fought for your rights, done this more. There's so much going back. I don't think a lot of people, a lot of lawyers don't even know this. Even to leave, you needed to speak with the Indian agent as well.
The pass system, they call it.
The pass system, yeah.
Yeah.
When you think about Europe, how there's different countries all over the place and different languages, that's what it was like here as well too, because the languages are a lot different. So when you're talking about like Anishinaabe law, like that would be in this region as well too.
Yeah.
Like there's Gitxsan nations, so the Gitsans would have their own law. Like Mohawk would, have their own as well too.
Quick question, did I hear correctly? Aboriginal law is already in code somewhere in the Indian Act, and it's kind of colonial. Did I hear that right?
So the Constitution Act of 1982, it's Section 35. It refers to First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people, where they treat every Indigenous person to this land the same. And Indigenous law, you're actually going by our nation, so it's like nation to nation to nation to nation.
And even me and Saul are from different nations, so
Yeah.
yeah, so.
This is actually a different perspective on what we were talking about. What does nation to nation mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that in my culture, the notion of common law is a big deal. The same thing is not present in First Nations because we've essentially established Canadian law over them. And having an Indigenous system, building it up slowly for whatever issues are important to them at that time, I think that's a positive possibility going forward. But of course, we need the political will to do that.
Has your perspective changed on, some of the things that we need to do with respect to whether it's reconciliation, whether it's, the history of Canada?
If you're asking me if I would have changed my vote on the statue, probably no, not. I still feel that if we're going to be inclusive, adding to history is the important part.
To wrap up his date, Saul wants to introduce Jeff to a survivor of the Pelican Lake Residential School.
Hey, my friend.
Hey, Saul, good morning.
This is Jeff McLaren.
Jeff McLaren, pleased to meet you.
Thanks. Thank you.
My dad parked his boat there. My parents stayed overnight. And I was up on the 3rd floor of the building.
Yeah.
And when they left their boat, they went from there. I could see the boat going out in the lake to the other side of that point there.
Yeah.
And they disappeared. And you wanted to hang on to every ounce of them as you could. Even the ripples on the water started disappeared. That's when the separation really hit. Oh, what a memory.
Yeah.
Still pierces me today.
It made sense for Jeff. It made him understand what residential school did to people.
The very fact that we were separated from our families to come here, that in itself was very hard. It really destroyed a lot of families and a lot of communities.
I seen news coming from Hamilton about a statue of Sir John A. Macdonald being torn down. Wondering, what are your thoughts on it?
You look at the statues, that's glorifying certain individuals and their contributions to Canada. And I'm not really sure what to think about having statues of our own Indigenous people there, because that's something new for us that maybe the elders need to be consulted about, talked to about, what they think about having pieces of metal made into somebody's image. That's a foreign concept for us.
How do you see reconciliation going forward?
We need to wake up and reframe our rich history as a country, and an acknowledgement of the living legacy of the Indian residential school system, the validation of a living history of our people. But we also want to be meaningful partners in so-called resource development, because we certainly want jobs, benefits, and so on. And I think that's important. But at the same time, we've got to do it in a way that there's meaningful dialogue, so that we don't see occupations and blockades. And I look at into the eyes of my grandchildren, and I look at them and I say, you're my hope. You are my hope. I hope in my own awkward way I'm giving you the tools to be able to find that strength and to be able to be an ambassador for the next generations to embark upon what really reconciliation is about.
I'm a theory kind of guy. I read books. When you hear somebody talk about it firsthand, it just becomes that much more real. He made theory come alive in a way that I did not expect. I'm reasonably confident I'm going to be remembering that for the rest of my life.
It's been a pleasure to get to know him. It was a pleasure to have a person listening, asking questions. He's come a long way over the last couple of days, spending time with him, just because I think he was able to grasp the real history of Canada. I think he's learned that his mindset is changing.
It's just two guys meeting other people that we don't know and expanding our consciousness. It really improves the perspective that I have. But it's opened up my mind and my eyes to a wider systemic problems within Canada.
Your journey up here was meant to be. And me was for embarking upon a journey of reconciliation with us. Thank you so kindly.
Thank you.
If you feel that you don't owe us anything, but I think you owe it to your children, to your grandchildren, that they know the history.